How's it going, guys? Good old Cody back for another Gear Talk video. As you can just tell, if I'm pointing in the right direction, I just saw Bird Box. Decent movie. Sandra Bullock, give you props. I mean, blindfolds even your own house are not that easy. Yeah, so if I'm off camera right now, sorry, I'm trying to find my way. I know I have Squirtle somewhere. He's got his blindfold on. I think I'm in the right place. Okay, here's the couch. Found the couch. We're making progress. Let's see if I can't get into the middle here. There's a seam. Oh, fuck. Here it is. Okay, so I think this is the middle. Squirrel, you good? You good? Where are you, buddy? Okay, there he is. Okay. Welcome back to today's episode of the Santiagos. Again, this is a part series, so I'm going to be picking up when the video starts where I left off. You can tell that's recorded at a decent time because I actually shaved since then. I have the Gears of War blanket now from Loot Box, which I think on video I put somewhere in the background there. Yeah, enjoy the video, and remember one thing, never go on a trip with Sandra Bullock, because the past few movies she's been in, nothing but disasters. Not the movies, just the situation. So, enjoy. I'll see you guys after the video. Next up, the Santiago line. And I should probably mention this because of JD. Well, we'll get to it. At the very end, I'll mention JD again and the relevance he has to the Santiago bloodline, even though he's a Phoenix. Now, quickly going over the Santiago family as a whole, kind of like they're the opposite of the Phoenixes. Whereas they both their families, they were soldiers pretty much throughout the generations. The Phoenix family is very well known around the world, while the Santiago is more of a humble family setting. You know, a mother, a father. They're all sitting around the dinner table during the day. The Phoenix family wasn't like that. The Phoenixes, while Adam and Marcus did love each other, they never openly expressed that they loved each other normally. There were a lot of times Adam was just gone and not around, and Marcus felt abandoned, especially after his mother's death. Elaine, not Elena. Elaine ended up dying, and there was a very large form of neglect from Adam towards Marcus. Adam never tried for it. That's just how it ended up. With the Santiago family, it was the opposite. They were always there for each other. Hospitality was something they gave towards others that weren't their family. They made people feel like they were part of their family. They were very family-oriented, the Santiagos. And there's one thing you can recognize is that the Santiagos are very, they have a very Hispanic setting to their family. I don't want to jump that line of saying like, oh, since they're Hispanic, they're obviously like that. I don't want to be hitting stereotypes. But it's kind of like, there's, in the Hispanic culture, it's very family heavy. That's how it is. And when you have the Santiagos, that's how it is. When Marcus, they first met him, they brought Marcus in and treated him like family. Towards the end of the day, they really did consider him family. Santiagos are really like that. Even towards the family that they marry into, like with Maria's family, I'm mixing my words up. I'm so sorry. It was a busy day today at work. Anyway, sorry. Continuing, because I don't want to keep cutting things. Pretty much when Maria married in, Dom already considered his mother and father-in-law like his actual mother and father. That's how much he considered them family. So the Santiagos, war-wise, were kind of the same, just recognition-wise and family dynamic. They were very opposite to the Phoenixes. Getting into the first family, the furthest in we know from the Santiagos, I will be taking pretty much the placeholder of Dom for this, because in a way he was the furthest. Actually, his kids were, but he lived the longest out of his entire family. So I'm going to take Dom's perspective on this. So, starting off, we have Aunt Rosa. Aunt Rosa was pretty much mentioned, I believe, by his father or mother that she was a Gear. I don't know if the husband was, but she herself was a Gear during the Pendulum Wars. And as we learn later on, each generation, it's not really an expectation, it's just something that they do. They just join the military. You're not expected to be in it. That's just what the generations have done, so why not? I'll do it too. That's how it was, and we first get that when they mention Rosa. She was their aunt, she was a Gear, and then later on we learn, we don't know if she was the mother to his father or mother, but in the next generation, we do learn that Dom's father was a gear. And I gotta look at names again, I'm sorry. Eduardo and Eva were their names. Eduardo was a gear. I believe he was, I don't remember if he was a foot soldier or a mechanic, but he is very well mechanically inclined when we meet him and talked about him. So I want to believe he was, but I'm not going to say if he was or wasn't. He was a gear, though. He was enlisted. And that's pretty much what throws Carlos and Dom into wanting to become gears at a young age. And then from there, we get to the current two. And one of them I really want to talk about, but I'm going to save that for another video because he needs a lot of recognition. Dom and Carlos. Dominic Santiago and Carlos Santiago. Now, these two were they weren't actual brothers to Marcus, but at a very young age, they interacted with Marcus. Marcus was like the very quiet type. He didn't want to talk to people. He sat in the corner when they went to school and everything, and that's how he was. That was Marcus at a young age. If you see him as an adult, he's a quiet, meek person. Well, not meek. No, let's not say that. He's a very quiet person. He doesn't openly just blurt out things he feels. If he's pissed off, he will, but if he's not, don't expect it out of Marcus. When he was young, he was just like that, except he was very, I don't want to say weak, because he wasn't weak. It said that he was a very skinny little kid, but that he could still throw a fist, especially when Dom and Carlos get in a fight and Marcus is helping out with it. They are like blood brother. It's hard to say. If they were family in any other way, they would be related. He would have come right out of Eva. That's how much of a brother he is to them. If he was one step further, he would be a brother by them by blood. That's how much of a brother Marcus is to them. And it really is between him and Carlos you first get that interaction. Carlos goes out of his way to meet Marcus, talk to him, and become his friend. And they truly are inseparable. You see in the games how much Dom is a part of Marcus's life and how much Marcus is a part of Dom's. The reason for that is because they really were inseparable, because Dom was 2 years younger than Carlos and Marcus. Marcus and Carlos were the same age. So when everything goes down, and spoiler for if you haven't read the book, Carlos dies, Marcus loses his mind during the war. He goes into berserker mode, steals a tank, and starts shooting things up. It gets that intense. Read Asvio Fields. It's the first book. It'll get you all the info you need, and it's a great starting place. I'm pointing this way because my book collection's right there. Read it. Marcus goes nuts. He loses it. And that's really the connection, too, with the Santiagos and the Phoenixes. The Phoenixes, Santiagos, and Strouds are all really heavy together. They're webbed together families. You have your family, and then you have like your friends of another family that's your friends, and another, and you're like your own group. That's how it was for them. So they're very family centric. So when Carlos were to die, Marcus lost it. Dom went into like a mini depression, but his kid was literally born like a few moments before that, and he got the news after. So Dom had so many emotions, he didn't know what he was doing. But let's talk about them quickly, just individual, before I go into that connection, because I just did. Carlos is going to get his own video. He's a major character that needs to be talked about. He's like the unsung hero, pretty much, of the early days of the Gears universe when it comes to Marcus. So Carlos was born, I believe he is the older brother. I already said he was. So when he was born, him and Marcus both joined the military. They became Gear soldiers, and Dom joined 2 years later because he too wanted to join. It was like something they said they were going to do. Now, as we know, Dom ends up dying at 3. Another spoiler if you haven't finished the series, but if you're watching this, I'm talking about Gears 4 even, so I don't know if that should be a spoiler or not. The sad thing is that it's pretty much the end of the Santiagos. I'll still mention the others, but since we're on Dom right now, and I said he was going to be like the center focus we look at for the relations, I'm going to have to say it here. Dom was the last surviving member of the Santiagos, and he was the last one to die. The Santiago name is finished. They're done. It's a family that does not exist anymore. And it's sad because the Santiagos were, as I can see, the largest mentioned family with the most members. And they have all passed on. So, going from there, let's talk about the other ones since I already spoiled they're all dead, shall we? Let's talk about the saddest of all of them. Maria. Maria was Dom's wife. And she was very heavily talked about in the first game and very heavy in the second. She was an actual plot point because there was a certain point where the game could have kept going, but Dom literally said, we're not going any further until I find her right now. So I would say she was a plot point because we had to find her. It was a part of the plot of the game. We have to go get her because if we don't, we can't keep moving forward because Dom's not going to do anything. And I'm sorry if I'm talking a little quickly on this. It's just talking about all the Santiagos and you know that they're dead now. It kind of loses impact when you mention how Maria died. Dom had to be the one to put her down. And it's a very sad scene, considered, I would like to say, probably the saddest in all of the Gear games, Maria's death. Because Dom spends 2 games looking for her, only to find this shell and husk and possibly lobotomized person that he called his wife. And now he has to pull out the pistol and end her life, because it's the only way she can be happy is being dead. She's living a miserable life. She's not even herself anymore. So that's pretty much Maria, but there's more to her involving her kids. So now we get Sylvia and Benedicto. So these two were born right at the very end of the Pendulum Wars. Benedicto came first, then Sylvia. I don't fully remember Benedicto when, but he was born, I believe, before Dominic had to go back out, get redeployed, and head out to the Operation Leveler. Now, like I said, he gets information of a child being born after his brother's death, and that would be the birth of Sylvia after Carlos. So, once E-Day begins, I believe it's even a few days into E-Day, I don't think it's the day of, or it could be, I don't fully remember. Benedicto and Sylvia are killed, because they go off to Maria's parents to spend the day, and all 4 of them are wiped out by the Locust. Maria goes into a severe depression, and this pretty much leads her to start seeing things, believing she's seeing things, all of that. And someone's having fun driving by. I apologize for the noise. And it really sucks because that kind of leads her into why she goes missing, because she wanders off thinking that she sees her kids. And that pretty much cements in the beginning of the end for the Santiagos, because then Maria's gone and she is unfortunately ended by Dom of all people, and then Dom ends up going into his own depression and he sacrifices himself to save, in his mind, his last remaining family member, Marcus Phoenix. Now, I did say I was going to mention something at the end of the Santiagos. J.D. Phoenix, James Dominic Phoenix. Now, this kind of irks me too because of how big Carlos was in Marcus's life, but I understand. JD carries the name of Dominic. He carries Dom's name. His legacy is still carried on by JD. In a way, Dom is still with us by JD. The Santiagos are gone, but JD still lives on through JD. I wish it would have been JC Phoenix because of Carlos and how much in his early life and everything that Carlos and Phoenix, Marcus both went through. The Phoenix and Santiago's being that close. But I understand Dom, because after Carlos, Dom was still there for him, and they went through so many years together. So, looking on it later on, JD does make sense, but I really wish that, Carlos would have at least had a name in there somewhere. So, that's the Santiagos. It's a really sad story. Moving on. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the Santiagos. I'm still sitting here blindfolded, and I think, yeah, here's the mic, and the camera should be right in front, so I'm sorry if I'm looking a different direction, trying to do this without looking, because the monsters will kill us all just by looking at them. Little side rant before we finish things off. In the movie, so I understand at the very end, when they get to that certain area, and spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, I'll give you a few moments right now. Yeah, for you guys who are still leaving, hope you have a good day. I mean, it's pretty nice out, yeah. Okay, they gone, guys? Okay, so at the end of the movie, they end up at the bird box, the school for the blind, and it's like, okay, that's hunky-dory. But it's like, oh, we're finally safe and everything, we're good. Well, it's like, they're still on the planet, the monsters, and people are still dying, and people are going crazy. I mean, what's stopping one of the crazy ones from just jumping in there and they'll be like, oh, you cannot see the perfection, we must kill you, you're not right, or something like that. I know they're leaving it open probably for a sequel or something, but I mean, Maybe a little bit of a better ending or something. I don't know. That's just me personally. As long as Squirtle's okay here, because I made sure if I'm one of the only survivors left in this world, I'm gonna make sure my Squirtle's with me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video on the Santiagos. Always fun. I think the next video I have are the Strouds. I think the Strouds are next up. So you guys have a good one. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you enjoy the new blanket. I'll try just doing some random thing like this every time. Maybe without a blindfold next time. So you guys have a good one, and remember, stay away from Sandra Bullock. Horrible things happen when you're around her. So, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow us on Twitter. Have a good one. I think I'm staring in the right direction. I don't know.